Hello, my name is Stephen Crow. This is FTH, let's see, 212-51915. This is the first assignment for the striker-fired pistol course, and today is the 24th of March. The firearm that I'm choosing to use for this particular assignment is a 6-hour 1911. So first I'll show that it's clear. There's no magazine inserted, and a visual and physical check of the firearm shows me that it is unloaded, and I don't have any. I'm in the bedroom and I don't have any ammunition in here with me. So again, this is a SIG 1911, and some of the tools that would be used to take this particular one apart. A couple Allen keys for the pistol grips. I will need a flathead screwdriver for a couple of the components. Most of this would be done with punches and a punch block. You could also use like a 1911 disassembly tool if you don't know how to take it apart, or you just press in on that spring. I've actually shot this quite a bit, so my spring is it's easier to take it apart. I actually made the mistake when I first bought this of taking it apart without shooting it, and it was extremely difficult to put back together, but now it's pretty easy. Another good tool that would be of use would be like a punch block, especially something for pistols if there was one specific for 1911, but I think just a typical punch block with some holes in it so that I could set parts of the firearm on it and then hit the punch through there. As far as measuring components, I mean, really the main thing that you would want to measure on this would be the barrel. If you don't know the barrel length, really it would be to measure like twist rate of the barrel. I think would be one of the main things that you would want to measure. You could measure some other things like some of the internals if you needed to figure out if a certain aftermarket trigger was going to fit from one platform versus another platform, or one make or model versus another make model. I mean, you might want to use a micrometer to take some measurements to get exact there so that everything fits tight. But there's typically not very much on this thing that I would actually want to change out because it functions. This is like one of the only guns I have that I haven't done anything to. It works perfect. So those typical tools. Something I would need to do that would have extra finesse would be just these punch pins, just to make sure I don't damage the coating on the firearm, because it is a really nice coating done by SIG from the factory. So really taking your time with those punches. Not too many detents involved in this, but there are some very little Allen screws. This has a, I can't remember the particular name of the dovetail on this rear sight, but this has a special name, and these little Allen screws are very small. They're more like set screws, and you have to be very careful pulling them out so you don't mar the top of them, because you would, honestly, they're so small and they're so thin on the walls that you'd probably just have to replace the set screw, and I don't really want to have to do that. Really, again, for frustration-wise, if you're not used to taking your 1911 apart, taking apart this front here and getting that spring actually all the way compressed and putting it back together, that could definitely be frustrating if you've never done it before. But like I said, I've taken this apart many times, so I'm extremely comfortable with it. Things that could be easily lost, some of these set screws could definitely roll off. Most of my firearms are black, and most of the internals are black. Most of the screws are black or blued, and because of that, I'm painting my workbench white. It's just a tip I saw from someone on YouTube, and I was like, that's actually genius. So, having a workspace that's conducive to not losing your little bitty parts. I've also got a tray from Harbor Freight that's like almost a silicone, but it's got a magnet underneath it, and I can put my parts in there when I'm taking apart weapon systems, and it's harder for the screws to get lost because they stay in their own little tray, and it's lightly magnetic on the bottom so they don't slide around too much. And then this last question, hold on, I gotta scoot over. So this firearm does have, I think many components. I mean, if you're looking at it in a simple teardown to do a field cleaning, which is what I typically do to this, you're not taking apart too terribly much, especially because it's a field strip. So you're meant to be able to do this on downtime during, combat operations, just to do general maintenance and cleaning to your firearm. But when you do a full breakdown on a 1911, there are a lot of moving parts here. And if you've never done it before, you could very easily lose something. But that's just my 2 cents on it. And like I said, I don't necessarily break this thing all the way down too often, and when I do, I'm just throwing it in an ultrasonic cleaner. So I've got a little Gerber jar that's cleaned out that I throw the screws in and put some of the liquid in, and then put the cap on it and put in the ultrasonic cleaner in the jar, and then I put all the big parts in the basket, and that seems to get this thing the cleanest. And then I do a really, really good coat of oil on it. I also use not CLP, but there's another brand, I think it's by Hornady's, that's a gun cleaner that's specifically meant for using in an ultrasonic cleaner, and I've got a ton of that, and I'm really, really happy with it. I mean, it keeps everything clean. I mean, I've had this firearm for 12 years. Yeah, 12 years. And I mean, I've shot the fool out of it, and I just make sure I always clean it after I come back from the range, at minimum a field clean. But like I said, it's easy to dump this thing in an ultrasonic and get it super clean without putting a whole bunch of time into it. So, but that's what I've got for today. Thank you.